Hi, I'm Maggie. Thank you for stopping by Crafts the Charm today. I'm so glad you're here. And today what I'd like to do is make some Thanksgiving tea towels, and I want these to be peanuts themed. Now I'm going to be cutting with the Cricut and using infusible ink for these, and I'm not very experienced with this. So I'd say I had 2 fails and 1 pretty successful towel. So I will put chapters in the video so you can jump to the successful towel if you want to. I think the designs that I did for the other 2 towels were kind of nice, so you might want to watch all 3 and maybe give me some feedback on what I did wrong and how I could improve the towels. So for the first one, I'm going to be using the Peanuts font for all of them, and I'll include a link to that in the description. But I found this image of Snoopy and Woodstock eating pie, and I found that on a German eBay listing, and I could use that pretty much directly. So what I did was I brought it into Photoshop, and I created a background of what's going to be a center stripe and then 2 stripes on either side, and I cut out the outline of the image of Snoopy and Woodstock, and I cut out the Happy Thanksgiving. Now I've brought that into Cricut Design Space, and I'm going to size it. It looks like I have to size it so that it's just under 12 inches long, even though my tea towel is more than 24 inches tall, so it means it's not quite going to fill up half of the tea towel. And now I'm going to mirror that, because it has words in it, we need it mirrored, and I'm going to cut it out of a sort of orangish infusible ink. That's my background. And then I'm adding the image, which is the Snoopy and Woodstock image, which is basically outlines, just black and white, and sizing that to fit inside that hole. And now I'm going to, again, mirror that and cut that out of a black infusible ink. Now, when I did this, I was thinking that I would leave the Happy Thanksgiving just empty, but what I found was that just didn't look very good. So I also did the Happy Thanksgiving out of the black infusible ink mirrored. So you can do those 2 pieces in the same step. I just did it in 2 separate steps because at first I thought I wasn't going to have the words in black. Now, I thought what I would be using for these tea towels are these flour sack towels that I got from Walmart, and they were 5 for just under $5. So it was a really good price. You can see they're quite large, 28 by 29 inches, and they are not very straight or square, I guess, and they're very thin. So what I decided to do was double it up. So I folded the towel in half, and I cut a piece of double-sided fusible interfacing to be a little bit larger than this, placed it in the middle, and sealed the 2 pieces together using the package directions, which is usually just sort of damp heat. And then I trimmed it so that it was more or less square. And I decided to leave the folded edge and the other edge, which was mostly the selvage, so I didn't feel that I needed to put a hem on that, but I did hem the other 2 ends with a 1/4 inch seam. Now, once I had that towel nice and flat and a little bit thicker and a little more square now, I weeded all of my infusible ink pieces. And then I started with the background piece, so that's the sort of orangey yellow piece. And I used my press at 400 degrees for a minute, and you can see the result I get from that. I love the color, I love the look of it, but you can see how it does not transfer evenly, and I've had this problem repeatedly. So I'm wondering if the problem is that I'm not moving the press around while I'm heating it. Or do I need to heat it for longer at a higher temperature? I'd love to know what you think. My final thought is, am I supposed to remove the transfer tape from the back of this before I heat it, because I think it does transfer quite a lot better without the transfer tape, but with an intricate design, I just don't even know how to do that. I don't know how it stays down without the transfer tape there. So if you're experienced with this, I would love to know. So you can see here with this one, I did remove the transfer tape and I repositioned the pieces because these aren't that intricate. And I tried again to transfer a little bit more of the color to the fabric. And then I took Snoopy, which is with the black infusible ink, and I positioned him over the cutout and again 400 degrees for a minute and transferred him on. And as I said, I really didn't care for how the words looked, being just sort of empty and open like that. So I printed out Happy Thanksgiving on the Cricut and weeded that and transferred that on. But you can see what happened. The other parts of the transfer faded when I heated them again. And it appears I burned a little bit of the towel on either side of the transfer. So I like, in theory, the way this looks, and I don't mind that faded look to it if it were consistent, but I don't care for the burning. So after I did this one, I learned that you are not supposed to use infusible ink with cotton, which I think is what I've used for every single project that I've tried with it so far. So I went out and I bought some towels that are meant to have infusible patterns transferred to them, and I got these at Michael's. They're called sublimation waffle towels. So I'm going to try these for the next project. Now, this one is quite a bit more complicated. So for this one, I thought it would be really fun to have elements from the feast that Snoopy prepared for the other characters in the Thanksgiving special. So I have Snoopy with a chef's hat, and that was an image that I had to edit quite a lot. It's a combination of a number of other Snoopy images. And then I have a piece of toast, 3 jelly beans, 3 pieces of popcorn, and a pretzel. Now, I know Snoopy served straight pretzels, but I thought this more traditional-looking pretzel would be more recognizable as a pretzel. So for this one, I did the same thing where I have the center stripe and then 2 stripes on either side with Happy Thanksgiving and Snoopy cut out of the center stripe. But I also have the sort of outline of all of the food pieces cut out as well. But then for the food pieces, I want them to have a color, and then I also want them to have an outline. So there's going to be a lot of cutting out. What I did was I brought it all into Cricut Design Space and sized everything so that it would all fit together, and then I just made different pieces visible as I cut. So to start, we're going to cut the background, and I chose a different color for the background this time. And then we're going to cut the toast, the pretzel, and sort of the butter of 2 of the pieces of popcorn out of a sort of a tanny orange color. And then each of the 3 jelly beans I cut out of a different color. And then finally I did the black Happy Thanksgiving and the outlines for all of the pieces. And then we're going to infuse them to the towel in that order as well. Now, the towel had folds in it when I got it. I ripped the tag off the back of it, and what I found was it was easiest to iron this towel from the back side. Once that was flat, I weeded every element of the design. And as I said, I did that background stripe part first, and then I did all of the colors, and then finally I did the black outlines last. And you can see how this came out. So I don't like the colors. I think I should have reversed the orange and the gold. The reason I didn't is because I didn't have enough of that orange left to be a background color. But the gold should be inside the toast and the popcorn. And you can see what happened in the towel. It still didn't transfer evenly in the middle. And I wonder if that's a problem with my heat press or a problem with me. I don't know. I also, you can see, accidentally left Snoopy's tongue as black. There was a piece there I should have pulled out. So this one has problems. but I feel like it's getting a little closer to what I want this to look like. Oh, and I did reduce the temperature. I was following the instructions on the package, which were no higher than 375 degrees Fahrenheit. I did this at 370 degrees Fahrenheit, but you can see I still burned around the towel. So from now on, I'm going to be using a piece of parchment paper between the towel and whatever I'm ironing onto it with, whether it's my iron or the press. Also, you can see that the colors are much, much more vibrant when I use the non-cotton towel. And I can't say I love these colors, but they are definitely a lot more saturated. I had taken little pieces out of every single color and ironed them onto one of the cotton towels so I knew what colors they would be, because they look quite different as an infusible ink sheet. But on the cotton towel, they don't look anything like they look on the polyester towel. So I have only one more sublimation towel left, and I want to try to get this right. I don't have very much of the gold or the orange color left, and I do like that as a background color for Thanksgiving. But I also wasn't successful transferring that thick stripe of color to the center of the towel. So what I decided to do for the final towel is to make it sort of two-sided, to have a Snoopy on each end of it instead of just one side. And instead of doing a stripe in the middle, just to have two stripes on either side. And I'm going to use both of my designs, one Snoopy on one side and one Snoopy on the Snoopy and Woodstock on the other side. So I cut out the pieces again. It's all the same pieces again. It's just that I won't have a background with holes in it where I'll be placing my other images. So I just have to kind of figure out where I want those to go when I make this. With this cut, the Snoopy and Woodstock got a little shredded where some of the more delicate cuts are, so I cut them a second time, telling the Cricut to use lighter pressure. So I decided to do the easier end first, the end with just Snoopy and Woodstock eating pie, 2 sets of stripes, and the words Happy Thanksgiving. And that was pretty simple. And I did use parchment paper between my towel and the press this time. For the more complicated side, I lined up the stripes with the first set of stripes, although they do not touch in the middle. And then I used my other Snoopy towel to figure out the placement of Snoopy and the food pieces, since I didn't have the middle stripe with cutouts to guide me. I started with the stripes and the food colored pieces, their backgrounds. And then I did Snoopy, Happy Thanksgiving, and the outlines. I lost one jelly bean outline, so I actually cut that out by hand. And I had to do some of those last because the transfer tape was going to be overlapping. And so you can see one of the jelly beans has a slightly thicker outline because I cut that one out by hand. I didn't feel like cutting on the Cricut again. And so I think this final towel was at least successful. I would love to know your thoughts. Please tell me in the comments. I am really a beginner to infusible ink, so I would appreciate any tips at all that you have for me. And I'd love to know which of the designs you like best. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you enjoyed this sort of content, please subscribe to Crafts the Charm. Thank you for spending time with me today. Take care.